Hey cadets, what's up? Today we're going to have an interesting video because we're going to talk about having a basic understanding of what memory timing is, if you should tweak the RAM timings, and if it affects your PC. So make sure to grab your popcorn and let's get ready. So guys, just to make it a point out there, I am not an IT expert, of course, so do not base any decision off my video. I am only offering you my basic knowledge in hope that I can give you some sort of knowledge that you may or may not already know. So starting off, RAM does not set its own frequency and timing. The BIOS does. It's like a starting point. So on Intel boards, the element of the BIOS is called the MRC. It is one area where the board manufacturers can have an advantage in performance because the variety of RAM and the difference between chips make tertiary timing so complex to adjust. So manufacturers find the best timings for popular kits during the post stage, and these are unchanged unless of course there are boot failures. As you know, memory timings have certain numbers. For a basic answer, that is, these numbers represent a number of cycles it takes before the memory can perform a given internal action. Generally, this is how we go about it, and that is the lower the better. However, that is not always true because, as you know, separate numbers have an effect on each other, which does make an effect overall. Come to think of it this way, just picture it like this. You measure how quick the memory is to oppose how fast it is. It's basically where there's this delay before the actual action takes place. So there's this little delay before the actual action starts. As we spoke about earlier, lower doesn't always mean faster. So remember that what these numbers are the measures of clock cycles. So remember that lower timings don't necessarily mean that there's going to be faster access times. So moving on to our next point is how all this affects your PC. Now, of course, this is extra knowledge and all good for you to know, especially if you are tweaking around with your timings. I do suggest those overclock enthusiasts out there to pay attention to this. So what's actually happening is that the MC will try a variety of settings in an attempt to stabilize the system. On the user end, it's trying to freaking solve a jigsaw puzzle, but it does end up working. Now, of course, this is an important point. If the memory isn't stable with the XMP, allow the system to reboot a few times before giving up. So since I know that this is mostly used by overclockers, I will give out this little tip, and that is, remember that pushing the timings past what the memory or the motherboard can handle will cause your machine to be unstable, will cause it to crash, will cause it to fail to start up as well. So it can cause all these things. So before you do this, do run a memory test program with lots of loops to make sure. And also keep an eye on the temperature. Now, say you get a stable running machine just lower than the maximum overclock, and you should be fine. I will leave a link in the description, and that is for the memory testing program, so you guys can go check those out, and hopefully they'll be helpful. Moving on to our last point of this video, and that is if you should tweak your memory timings. So this is my opinion on whether you should tweak your RAM timings or not. Of course, this is completely up to you, but you do need to keep in mind that these timings do play a big role in how well your RAM performs. So my suggestion is, if you haven't tightened your memory timings yet, they are probably still looser than they need to be, so I definitely think that it is worth a look. Of course, do keep in mind that you should run the memory testing program to be on the safe side, and other than that you should be good to go. So that's about it for this video, guys. I hope this was informative and helped you understand better what memory timing is. Of course, if you have any questions, as always, do leave them in the comments and I'll be happy to reply. Guys, I did mention a lot of abbreviations like MC, MRC and stuff like that, so I'm going to leave the meanings of them in the description, so check those out. Other than that, guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy.